Let's take a look at Mr. Joe Rogan from Mr. Moon.
Be an actor himself, and because of this, he understands what Hollywood elites do to stay relevant, and how fake the entire industry and all the people within it really are.
Oh, well,
In
yeah.
fact, the whole
Well, I mean, Joe Rogan was a part of that kind of industry. I mean, still kind of is. Right? Because he still does, um, he still shoutcasts for, UFC and stuff sometimes. And he does comedy stand-up sometimes too, right? Like, he's still in the public eye a lot. And he has his podcast too.
reason he left the industry was because he could no longer stand the shallowness of it all. Nobody was real or authentic, and so given his history, he had no qualms about calling out actors and all of their BS.
Everybody who goes in there, they go into these auditions, and there was these people who were, like, air quotes, working actors, right?
Yeah.
They do a little, I was on Just Shoot Me for a saying, I had a nice
Oh,
episode
that sounds like
on this.
Twitter people.
Those people, they develop
they just go on Twitter, just
way of talking,
constantly
and they don't say,
fucking
"Nice to meet
posting
you," because they might already met
hundreds
you.
and
So they say,
hundreds and
"Good to
hundreds
see
of
you.
tweets a
Good to see
day,
you,
and it's just
Kyle."
like, do you
This
have a
way
job?
of
Like, what the
doing it,
fuck?
I was recognizing it. The way they would talk, everyone was like super left wing, super progressive. No one explored ideas. You just adopted whatever everybody else was going with and ran with it. Oh yes, I agree. Hillary is so much more qualified. People would just say shit like that.
Yeah,
it was really strange.
Take, for example, his
shit.
most recent comments on two Marvel actors. In the last few years,
oh,
Marvel has gone from being
I'm
one
gonna
of the most
suck the
beloved
teat
franchises
of
to
this
a dumpster
politician
fire
or
of PR
suck the dick of this
scandals. And
politician
unfortunately
by
for executives, the flames aren't going down
by
anytime
kissing
soon.
his boot.
On a recent
It's like,
episode
what
of
the
Joe
fuck
Rogan
are you doing?
Experience, the four men briefly turned their focus to
Why are you
Marvel,
groveling?
more specifically the drama surrounding Captain America: Brave New World. In the lead up to the film's release, like almost every Marvel film recently, was hit with disaster after disaster. From disappointing results at test screenings, expensive reshoots, fans questioning whether they were going to pay for a lecture or a fun action movie. Now, Marvel might have won some fans back with Deadpool and Wolverine, but those couple of films could only shield the studio from so much.
I think regardless of the mishaps, people still seem to like some of the Marvel films, even if they have some issues. I think because it has the Marvel, right? It has the Marvel name. So even if some of the issues are kind of blatant, some of them will push through it.
Much. The eventual release of the trailer was meant to be the film's saving grace, and it somewhat worked. It sparked both confusion and tentative hope. It was a bit odd that a non-superpowered Sam Wilson was taking on a Hulk villain, but other than that, the trailer seemed okay.
The Red
There was no
Hulk.
sign of more virtue signaling, no multiversal nonsense, and Harrison Ford as president. Maybe Disney and Marvel had finally realized their lesson, that virtue signaling in their movies was always going to be disastrous. Maybe, just maybe, they were focused on telling a good story once again. But then disaster struck in the form of none other than Anthony Mackie. A few weeks before the film was released, Anthony
he
was
said
doing
some
a
shit.
promo and commented that America
he said
shouldn't be
that-
one of the things that
Honestly, I feel like he didn't prep a speech properly, and he was just going with the flow, which kind of wasn't good. Either that, or he's just fucking retarded. I mean, he might be just fucking retarded. I mean, I don't want to be mean to him, but he might be just fucking retarded.
Captain America represents.
For me, Captain America represents a
Oh,
lot
no.
of different things, and I don't think the term, America
Hey.
should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity,
Oh,
and
no.
integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and
Bad word
dependable.
choice.
He sounded almost disgusted by his own country, like America was
Yeah.
a dirty word.
Nah.
Now, I'm not really sure the reaction he was expecting, but it probably wasn't in his silent room. You would have thought that someone would have moved to cut off his mic, but he just kept going on. Saying this at the same time that America shouldn't be one of the things Captain America represents, made it
Yeah,
feel like
that
this
was a
just
little weird,
backhanded
too.
dig at Americans.
Yeah.
And so understandably fans of
'Cause
Captain America.
Right, him saying that kind of seemed kind of weird, because it's like, I guess he doesn't know the story about Captain America and why he's Captain America. Especially during with fucking Hail Hydra. A Hail Hydra guy or Skullface, right?
weren't happy with what he was saying.
The whole needed someone to take care of the Nazis.
He just felt like he was completely dishonoring the character's history and origin. The whole point of the movie, almost, as Captain America was designed to embody American values. He exuded everything good about the country, no matter its current political.
It literally brought him up during what was literally the right, World War II or World War I or whatever. Fictional World War I, World War II.
The country could be in shambles, but Captain America would always be around as a symbol of what it was meant to be. He was a fictional hero people could look to in a time when the world was at its darkest, a symbol of hope and strength. He was designed to unite people and make them proud of their country, and be a beacon of hope to all other countries around the world. And now Marvel and Disney are apparently trying to scrape those links to what? Make the character more relatable, more socially acceptable in today's political climate. It all made no sense. If anything, these comments would ensure no one showed up to the movie, which is exactly what the Fight Companion episode showed, as Joe Rogan would comment on the absurdity of Mackie's words, sarcastically remarking that he wasn't their Captain America.
That guy's not my Captain
I didn't know
America.
they talked about
a pussy.
The whole situation was just yet
I've
another
just been
major
so
PR
busy
crisis.
not watching
However, Joe Rogan seemed more
any of those
interested in why
anymore.
Mackie had felt urged to say what he had in the first place.
Isn't it weird that they feel like they have to say stuff like that to keep working?
It's
like,
weird.
So
But
weird.
the movie studio goes,
This was a simple comment, but one that linked back to a deeper issue in Hollywood. No one is allowed to have differing opinions. The last place in America that always has to toe the line, that has to say whatever.
Yeah, it was the thing, right, with Trump. Oh, you can't say you like Trump. You're gonna be vilified.
They're told to say, no matter how ridiculous. It's
you
Hollywood.
aligned yourself with Kamala? You got paid by Kamala?
Or queer rights, or indigenous rights, or animal rights. We're talking about the fight against injustice.
Because if you don't, you'll just be fired, lose all your support, and never get hired for another major Hollywood
It's
project.
weird how a lot of Hollywood people are starting to speak out about activist activity stuff. Really weird. I mean, I get that you get the occasional, like, some of them, I know some of them would be, right, would have that mentality, but there's just so many more of them coming out.
Fortunately, several examples of celebrities who were allegedly blacklisted over their political views.
Yeah.
And yet many will go on to Joe Rogan to talk about this exact issue. People like Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey, to name just a few. In fact, according to him, many celebrities
Matthew McConaughey
they fully believe in what he's saying, but have to completely pretend the contrary.
Some left-wing shit
so
and
it's very
right-wing
possible
shit.
that,
So
as
it's kind of
Rogan
like
suggested, Mackie may have said what he did to keep his job. And it seems so far that Anthony Mackie may be one of the more palatable actors.
Some of these guys have said some
about why modern movies suck.
Some interesting things, so that's why everyone's kind of like,
You went to go see the Schwarzenegger movie.
thinking.
Now you go see X-Men. So the evolution of the superhero has meant the death of the movie star. And that's the fear now, because you're now making movies for 16-year-olds and China.
And generally, on the whole, people...
he says it right there. You're now making movies for 16-year-olds and China. China.
find him somewhat relatable. He wasn't trying to push an agenda down people's throats or fight a societal war. He seems normally to just be himself, but his latest comments were completely out of nowhere, and probably as a direct result of Disney's influence. But whatever the reasoning behind these comments, Mackie did still make them. Now, he did try to clarify what he meant in a post made to Instagram later on. He started by stating that he was proud to be an American and get to play a character like Captain America, but he would also assure people that he had the utmost respect for those who serve and have served the country. Furthermore, he emphasized that his character was the one he wanted everybody to relate to, but the damage was already completely done. And now we're seeing the effects of his comments in real time, and the movie has been a complete train wreck. But Anthony Mackie wasn't the only Marvel actor to do this. You know, Joe Rogan's known for his MMA fighting, being in extremely good shape and doing quite well health-wise at the tender age of 56-57. If you remember, he bounced back from COVID in like 2 or 3 days, so he definitely takes care of himself.
Yeah,
one of the
CNN tried to
mentioned
say
and
he
talked
took
about is
fucking
NMF. Now, rather than me try to explain
horse
it, I'm just going to let the
dewormer.
doctor that
controls aging in youths. And what
doctor that discovered this One of the supplements that he's mentioned and has talked about is NMN. Now, rather than me try to
speed
explain
through
it, I'm just
this.
going to let the doctor that discovered this explain it, and then I'll tell you some of the other effects that he doesn't mention in this short clip.
About 20 years ago, Lenny Dorrenti and a team of us at MIT
Is he going to talk about the horse dewormer stuff?
and those genes are called sirtuins, and there's 7 of them in our bodies.
Fucking CNN. Was it CNN?
Bacteria, humans.
Yeah, I think it was
Normally,
CNN.
into a yeast cell or a mouse that live longer.
He also did a podcast with one of the
You
journalists.
can improve energy, weight management, endurance, strength, and anti-aging benefits. Personally, it's improved my skin. Many people on YouTube have taken it for years, sharing their blood tests and studies, and it's clear that users feel stronger, more energized, and overall just better. As men, we need to stay strong, sharp, and healthy,
Thank
because
you,
no one else
thank
will do
you.
it for us. And that's why I
I
recommend
get
Black
it.
Forest supplement NMN. It increases NAD+, helping your body regain the vitality of your younger years, reducing wrinkles, joint pain, and that unwanted belly. Another key supplement is Revitral, which pairs perfectly with M&M, and Black Forest offers both of these supplements. But M&M is the real game changer. It boosts NAD+ production, reigniting the strength, energy, and vitality you had at 16 or 18. Over time, aging takes its toll with wrinkles, joint pain, stubborn belly fat, but M&M helps reverse those effects, restoring what time is taken away. So check out Black Forest today. Links are down below in the description, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with this. I know.
See, this is
In
your
2024,
ads.
Dave Bautista decided
This
to
is
try
your
some
ads
of the
now.
vortex, and it really wouldn't take long for his decision to backfire spectacularly. In a now viral post, he went on a rant about Trump, calling him weak while punching stuff and acting just super macho, almost just like a giant toddler.
Fellas, we gotta talk. A lot of men seem to think that Donald Trump is some kind of tough
I'm
guy.
surprised Batista's even out talking.
He's not. I mean, look at him. He wears more makeup than Dolly Parton.
He was acting as though his body was more impressive
I mean, yeah. Look, the orange man. He's got the spray tan. I'm just kidding. I don't know if he actually
than
has spray
anything Trump
tan.
had gone through. And not to say that Trump's some great guy, but it's just all the ridiculousness in Hollywood makes it so that it's so hard to support these people. I mean, just the fact that this Hollywood guy would even post a video meant to prove how much tougher he was than Trump without any self-awareness makes him look like an idiot. Not only did he make himself look like a fool, but Joe Rogan would openly laugh at him on his platform. He mocked his tough guy
Over his
attitude,
most
that
embarrassing Donald Trump moment, and fans can't
actors
believe
should
it.
just stay out of politics and stay in their lane.
You know who really fucked up? Bautista. He went all in against Trump. Remember he did that video calling him a little bitch and all his different things?
What was that about?
Yeah, he did the whole thing where he's working out. You're a little bitch.
Yeah.
You little fat. You look like a bag of milk. Fucking hitting
Just
the bag.
bad jokes.
Doing working out.
Yeah.
Fucking looking jacked.
Better to stay out of politics if you're an actor. Hey.
And who couldn't agree with that? But if it wasn't
Yeah, I
already
don't know
clear,
why he.
Joe Rogan
Yeah,
has
I don't
no
know what
issue with
happened.
calling actors out when they get
He
too
just
big for their
freaked
boots.
out.
And he cares even less about calling out actors who are given leeway just because of their sexuality. Take Ezra Miller, for example.
Oh no,
Now,
fucking
2020
no! This
wasn't a
guy
great
was
year for anyone,
no fuck
but it
Ezra
was
Miller.
specifically bad for the Flash actor. Up to this point, Miller had earned a spot in Hollywood, featuring in not just one but two major Warner Bros. Franchises, and he seemed to be at the top of the world, almost near
He's done some
unstoppable.
weird things.
But now that seems to have changed, all because a viral video exposed.
Oh,
the
he does
actor
that
for what he
weird
really
hand
was.
shit, too.
Or rather, people thought
like
he
a
would
lot
go
of-
to hell. In the video, Miller threatened a woman before grabbing her by the throat and throwing her to the ground. The person filming stopped to help before things could escalate, but there was no getting around what had just happened, especially when it was later confirmed that staff had escorted Miller off the premises. Interestingly, Miller faced no repercussions after the incident. No assault charges, no hearing, nothing. Life just continued as normal as if nothing ever happened. It was really odd, but most people left it alone. Considering what a year it was, most had more to worry about than an actor getting away with assaulting someone. The incident would have probably just been swept under the rug for someone else to dig up later in his career. However, Miller was just getting started. 2 years later, he would
Oh,
find
no, he
himself
got
in
into a
Hawaii.
lot of
Any
shit.
other person would have taken the opportunity to relax and enjoy the sights, but not Miller. He had to make a nuisance of himself again. Apparently between the 7th and 28th of March, police were called on him 10 times. 10. That's about once every 2 days. They were all petty incidences, but still. How does a person become such a nuisance that they get
Yeah,
the police
he
called
was
on them
basically
10
being a
times
druggie.
in just a couple of weeks? And despite his apparent quest to torment as much of Hawaii as he could, Miller then managed to befriend a couple on the island. The couple invited him to stay at a hostel. There he would find himself in a karaoke bar. What harm could you cause in a karaoke bar? Maybe being a bit louder than necessary after one too many drinks? But Miller decided that the worst thing a person could do was sing Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper's Shallow. In fact, it was such an awful transgression that he had to physically assault them. Unsurprisingly,
what?
he was arrested, though he didn't seem to think it was justified. Having the fame and money of Hollywood behind him, and the backing of the powers that be, he laid out to the officers that he was being unlawfully persecuted.
Unlawfully persecuted.
Oh wait,
crime
I
of
think
no
I saw this
designation.
one.
Disorderly conduct being something I
Yeah, I think I
I
saw
claim my
this.
Fourth Amendment rights to not be searched and seized on no probable cause.
Furthermore, he felt that the officers had intentionally
Yeah,
committed a
back
hate
when
crime
I-
by misgendering him.
That was so-
I'm sorry. I'm not a sir. I'm transgender, non-binary.
Transgender.
Okay. I was just trying to be respectful.
Failed to do that again. That is an act of intentional bigotry.
Intentional bigotry. Holy shit. He's a walking fucking Democrat.
After his
dude.
arrest, the couple Lincoln Steinwood took the opportunity to make a report against him.
He's like Hunter
Allegedly,
Biden.
He threatened to bury them before stealing the wife's
God
passport and the
damn.
husband's wallet. And they were granted a temporary restraining order against him, but later dropped the allegations. At least recognizing that he can no longer stay in the area, Miller then headed for a volcano. That April, he was then arrested again, this time for second-degree assault, and apparently being asked to leave warrants a chair being thrown at someone's head. However, once again,
Fucking
due
idiot.
to Miller's power and fame,
Oh, this
faced no
dude's a
real
joke.
consequences other than a small fine of $500. It was almost laughable. All of that
Yeah,
and
he's
nothing
just
more
like
than a
Jesse
slap on the wrist
Smollett.
for this millionaire. Not even his career had taken a hit. Over those 2 years, Miller was featured in 7 projects, 3 of which were
Plays
DC
the victim
related.
card when
And
he
yet it
gets
turned out that all
caught
of
up
this was
and
just the
shit.
tip of the iceberg for Miller.
Acts like a
Things
fucking
started really
doofus.
getting out of hand in June
Out
when
in
a temporary
public.
order of protection was issued on behalf of Dakota Iron Eyes. The then 18-year-old girl had apparently been friends with Miller since 2016 when she was only 12. He flew her to London while filming Fantastic Beasts, and she apparently dropped out of school to follow him. But unfortunately, this isn't even the creepiest
Wait,
aspect
what?
of their relationship.
Really?
The two believed their relationship would bring about a revolution and an apocalypse. Iron Ice's parents were understandably concerned. According to them, Miller had groomed and manipulated
Oh,
their
yeah,
daughter.
this- yeah.
However, she denied
Yeah,
all
this one, yeah.
allegations and then defended Miller every chance she got. Their claims that she wasn't in control of her social media, well, that would be rebuffed by a comment that she chose not to have a phone. Accusations that Ezra Miller had verbally abused her, well, these were shut down
Yeah,
by
there's
claims
been
that
a
the
lot of
actor's comments were part
instances
of a
of
queer dialogue,
weirdos trying
and it was
to do
therefore
shit like
homophobic
that.
to call it abuse. The actor actually started mocking the court's inability to locate him to serve the protection order. It was a bizarre situation and one the parents eventually gave up on. But unfortunately, she wasn't the only child Miller tried to befriend. That same month, a mother and her 12-year-old were granted a temporary harassment prevention. Miller had allegedly threatened the woman and acted improperly towards her child. According to the pair and a neighbor, he'd fixated on the child, hugging them and touching their hips. The mother further stated that Miller had taken an interest in her child because of their style and maturity. Apparently, he was convinced that her child was a mystical being who would be lucky to have Ezra to guide
I
and
think he
protect
was
them.
high.
These aren't the words of a
Mystical
stable
being?
person, much less the words of
yeah,
someone
he
leading a
must have been, like,
multi-billion-dollar
on that
franchise. Given how
puffing too
quickly
much
Johnny
pain or
Depp
some
was shot
shit,
from
dude.
Warner Bros.' projects during the Amber Heard situation, you would think they'd just be as fast to drop Miller. Surely, after all the legal trouble
Nope,
and
they
predatory
screwed
behavior,
over.
Warner Bros.
Right,
would
they
have the
didn't
sense
drop
not to have
Miller.
someone like Miller leading
Nope.
one of their main
Instead, they
films.
dropped
Surely he would face some repercussions for his
fucking
actions.
Johnny
but
Depp
no,
for some
the
reason.
studio went ahead with The Flash and allowed Ezra Miller to remain the face of one of the last DCEU projects. So why would Warner Bros. Not hesitate to fire Johnny Depp,
I don't-
one of the most famous actors?
Even after that, I don't think Disney has given a statement saying, "Hey, sorry, we didn't mean to fire you." I don't think they've ever given a statement yet.
in Hollywood, but somehow keep Ezra
Or at
Miller
least
despite
Hollywood.
everything. Well, Joe Rogan had a fascinating theory and would expose it for what it really was.
Do you know the story with the movie The Flash?
I mean, I know Ezra Miller was like a controversial figure.
But to say it mildly.
Really?
To say it mildly.
Okay, hit me.
I mean, he must be so good in this fucking movie. I haven't seen the movie, but I heard it's really good.
Yeah. Did
But he must
kidnap
be
the person, right?
He's a freak, man.
Okay.
During that
Yeah,
discussion,
there's a
the
lot of
comedian made
fucking
a very
shit on him.
interesting comment.
I mean, he's
That's not a crime.
non-binary. He says he's a they/them, which gives him a lot of leeway. But with the stuff that he gets accused of, it's hard to imagine that they still release this movie with all these controversial charges
Yeah.
against this guy. And I understand that, like, they
Leading
spent
up to the movie too, he racked up a lot of
You know
crime.
what's funny too is the Batgirl lady didn't do shit. They just canceled her movie.
And unfortunately, this isn't even unlikely. Had Miller been anyone else, he probably would have been cut from the project as soon as
Yep.
executives got a whiff of his disorderly conduct. But since he was
Yep.
non-binary, it was blind eyes. The hypocrisy would almost be mind-boggling if it weren't exactly what you'd expect from Hollywood. It's an industry that always contradicts itself constantly. And one of those things it's very
Shady.
contradictory on can be guns.
Shady.
Now, of course, many actors are very anti-gun. And that's not a problem if it's not hypocritical. Like in the case
Oh,
of
yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec
The
Baldwin,
66-year-old
yep.
actor has always been outspoken in his political views.
He got
just like
away
everybody
because
else
the
these days.
prosecutors
Gun control
fucked
was
up.
always a particularly sore spot for him. which on the surface really isn't that
Prosecutors
bad of a
fucked
thing.
up,
In
didn't
2018,
give all
he
the
tweeted about his
information,
distaste
and
for the
now
Second
he
Amendment
got
and called
away
for the law to be
scot-free.
rethought. That same year, he
Well, I
joined
mean,
a
he
group
didn't
of
get
celebrities
really away
dedicated to
scot-free. He
reducing
has
the
to
National
live with
Rifle
his,
Association's influence.
well,
Even
with
got
the
into a
fact
spat
that he
with Donald Trump
basically
over the
killed
issue
someone.
on Twitter. He became a spokesperson for the issue. It's almost tragically ironic that a man who was so outspoken about gun violence would find himself unfortunately responsible for the very thing he was trying to prevent. As we all know, in 2021, Baldwin was rehearsing a scene in the movie Rust with what he believed to be a gun. He wanted to make sure he's performing a cross draw correctly, and while doing so, discharged the weapon accidentally. Now, in this case, the weapon should never have had a bullet
or at a
inside
certain
it.
point, they
In fact,
start
the
giving,
armorer had assured
they
him
don't
that the
give a
gun was
fuck, and
cold,
then
so
look
it going
what
off
you
shouldn't
did,
have
you
done more
fucked
than make a
yourself.
few people jump. But unfortunately, the prop team neglected to check whether the rounds they were using were live, and arguably there should never have been any need to check. After all, who'd bring live ammo to a set where actors were constantly aiming guns at each other? Tragically, when Baldwin fired the gun, it took the life of the cinematographer for the movie, and the director was also hit, but the injury wasn't fatal. Understandably, Baldwin was
that
devastated.
dude, Joel Souza, yeah, he got shot in the shoulder. Right.
By this.
I have no idea. I take that back. I have some ideas, but that's not for me to say.
Yeah,
Someone
I think it
put
was
a
the
live
shoulder.
bullet in a gun. A bullet that wasn't
Can't
even supposed to be on
remember.
the property. And this is the thing I hope that the sheriff's department doesn't give up on, that they follow this to the ends of the earth. Where did that bullet come from?
Where did
Somebody
that bullet
brought
come
live
from?
rounds,
Bro,
plural,
you had
onto
it
the
in
set
your
of the film.
goddamn gun, dude.
And one of them ended up in that gun. I've spoken to the sheriff's department multiple times. I don't have anything to hide, you know what I mean?
And it was this incident that would spark his passion for taking away the Second Amendment, which is understandable, but the way he would go about this would bring a lot of criticism. During his quest to right his wrongs post-shooting, he would share a screenshot of a viral tweet regarding shootings in the UK. According to the tweet, tighter gun control legislation in the UK had led to 0 school shootings. He then reposted this to Instagram, but people weren't too happy about the post, especially because many of his audience were American, and many more of these people found it interesting that the man responsible for an unfortunate accident with a gun was now calling for more gun control. Now, on the surface, the situation does make sense, but people argue that tighter gun control wouldn't have actually protected the cinematographer, as this was a freak accident that could only be blamed on the people who didn't do their jobs properly. Not Americans' rights to bear
a freak
arms. And all
accident
Joe Rogan would
happened
do
where
was
you
laugh at the
fucking killed
irony of all
someone.
of this.
And by the way, congrats to Alec Baldwin. That just got ruled an accident.
It did?
It did.
Yeah.
When?
Yep.
Recently.
I thought they said
because
that
the
he had to have pulled
prosecutors
the
fucked
trigger.
up.
He did. Accidentally.
But he lied and he said he didn't pull the trigger.
People get nervous.
Taryn Butler from Taryn Tactical.
Yeah.
What does this say here?
Mhm.
Medical investigator rules Baldwin set shooting an accident. Well, of course, he's not trying to kill that lady in front of everybody.
But yeah, he won't be charged for
just because it was an accident.
What did the guy from Taryn Tactical say?
manslaughter, I
It's impossible
think it
for that
was?
gun to shoot. He
Accidentally
showed me the gun. I have a video
killing
of it. I was
someone?
like, I don't want to start trouble and
Right.
release this. But in the video, he has the gun. Not
Yeah.
the actual gun, but the same model gun.
Yeah.
And he's showing how the action on this works. And he's like, it's not possible for the hammer to go forward and just accidentally fire. And he like cocks it back
Yeah.
and shows how it works. He's like, you have to engage the trigger.
During a discussion with a popular gun enthusiast, Rogen pointed out Hollywood's hypocrisy with guns. He remarked that everyone was anti-gun until they were wielding one in front of a camera. Then guns were the
Basically.
heroes of the film and painted it in a positive light. If actors were actually anti-gun, they'd stop accepting roles that paint them in a positive light.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe Rogan's point being, why would Baldwin choose to direct and act in a film like Rust if he was so against gun violence? Well, the answer is probably before the accident, he didn't really care about the issue as much as he seemed to. And more so now with his latest experience, Baldwin is arguably more driven by trauma than anything else. Unlike Meghan Markle, who seems to be driven more by narcissism than anything else. Just like her indirect jabs at Joe Rogan about misinformation to score brownie points. Now, of course, Joe Rogan, like everybody else, is no stranger to the goings-ons of Meghan Markle. When she and her husband left the royal family, he would go viral for imitating the Queen and referring to her as an American hussy.
It's that little American hussies he's hooked up with. She's come to turn him into a Kardashian.
Since then, he's occasionally commented on the couple's activities, but never really went out of his way to make enemies with them. He just let them be. He's even stated that they could do relatively well for themselves if they endorse makeup line sneakers and watches.
They're already so popular, all they need to do is start endorsing fucking makeup lines and sneakers and watches and shit. Next thing you know, Jed's a millionaire.
As much as he was taking the piss, he wasn't specifically wishing them ill will. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, made a point of going after Rogen. In 2022, Meghan Markle decided to follow in the footsteps of numerous celebrities and start a podcast. As soon as she got out the royal family, she would sign a deal with Spotify, and her fans couldn't wait to see what she'd come up with. However, before her first episode was even published, Meghan Markle had to make a statement. While she had already signed the deal, she was now concerned that the music platform was allowing the spreading of disinformation. She brought up a non-profit and how it worked to address the real-time global misinformation crisis.
Also, Prince Harry is supposedly a psychologist. Don't know how. He can help you. He can help you with your life, apparently.
Finished this with the hope that Spotify would change to help address the public health
can't
crisis.
even help his own life.
The statement came off very holier than thou, and was right at the time when Joe Rogan was being cancelled by the mainstream media, with all the pressure of the establishment trying to discredit Joe Rogan and take him off Spotify. And while she didn't specifically mention Joe Rogan by name, it was a clear jab at the comedian at the exact same time this cancellation was happening, and he wasn't going to take these statements lying down. He would be quick to defend his podcast, commenting that he was just having interesting conversations.
I wanted to make this video, first of all, because I think there's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation.
This is when
2 episodes. I do not know if they're right.
Yeah, when he got on
because I'm not a
Spotify and
doctor, I'm not a
started doing
scientist.
podcasts.
I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Whenever I get something wrong, I try to correct it because I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is. And I'm interested in having interesting conversations with people that have differing opinions.
Interestingly, when Spotify agreed to add COVID content advisory labels, Rogan was in full support of the decision. And yet just by being himself and having conversations with people unfiltered, he managed to expose the cattier side of Meghan Markle. But his real smackdown came after she ended her podcast. When the first episode of Meghan Markle's podcast eventually aired, it beat the Joe Rogan Experience for the #1 spot on Spotify. This was a major triumph for Meghan Markle. Not only was she talking
I didn't
to
even know
powerful
she had a
women, but she had
podcast.
surpassed the most popular podcaster in the world. However, that victory became bitter when the podcast was cancelled just after 12 episodes. What could have been a years-long project lasted only a few
probably
months,
why.
and Joe Rogan was more than happy to theorize why.
That's why a lot of these celebrities that start these things, they can't keep up. They bail. You know, like the Meghan Markles and the fucking... I guess she's doing it now, but Prince Harry was doing one for a while, and Bruce Springsteen and Obama were doing one for a while.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, the
Like,
Obamas,
guys, you
yeah.
don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
Yeah,
Is
the
there
Clintons did
is there
one
a
too. It was
Patreon
like,
that makes you stop?
You just can't,
Yikes.
can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Which is, I think, also why shows like this work, because
I think even Kamala was trying to do one.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like you get a sense of what the person's like.
According to him, celebrities who start podcasts are quick to bail because they can't keep up. Quote, listeners get a sense of what a person is like after a while. And that's very dangerous for celebrities who've created a fake, phony image of themselves to appease their
I
audience.
probably sound like a broken record by now. With all the fucking years I've been streaming. Thanks. Does everyone forget they are actors? They lie for a living, so why is this a surprise? But unbelievable that DC keeps Miller. But there were DC executives actively working against Henry Cavill. Yeah, that's weird too. That doesn't make any sense. They're okay with Miller, but they actively try to fuck over Cavill? Like, what is this shit? What is happening? We're living in fucking upside down world. 100% of the symbol of what America was supposed to be. Damn. Hollywood is so refreshing. It's about time someone calls out. Well, I mean, he's been always calling out Hollywood, so at least he's been always calling out people. I mean, he's a comedian. It's in his nature. A lot of comedians talk a lot about certain people or groups of people, right? Or what they see.